Hey guys, it's Keshav here from Revolution Hive, and in this video I'm going to tell you 5 tips that are going to help you to read more and learn much faster than you currently are. These are things that I'm using myself and I've got from clients that I've worked with and other people that I know that read a ton of books every single year. I do have another video on this topic, so check it out in the description at the end of the video, but let's get into it. So the first thing that I want to mention is, why are you reading in the first place? What is the purpose of the things that you're trying to learn? For me, the difference between when I was trying to read and I knew I needed to read and I knew I had to read. Notice the difference. I need to read and I have to read. I was reading for a purpose. So, right now I'm really focusing mostly on wealth, finance, and entrepreneurship because this is the number one area that I'm looking to get the most growth in 2018. Before this, what I used to do was I'd just read, random books people would recommend to me. I'd see a video on YouTube, I'd see on Goodreads, different things like that. And I'd accumulate and hoard this, and I know we've all done it. I'd accumulate this list of, these are books that I should really read, because they're really important. But notice my language here. It wasn't a must. It was I should, I need to. So that language, what it tells me, what it tells you is, if you're using this kind of language, is that you're not really that committed. You haven't decided that I have to read every single day, because reading about wealth, reading about investment, reading about entrepreneurship is going to help me to be a better, in my case, CEO and entrepreneur. It's going to help me to grow my company in the areas that I feel we're weakest in. And that's the reason why I'm reading. So when I think about, and this happens, should I read today? I don't know, I'm kind of tired. Maybe I should just watch another YouTube video. Maybe I should, just spend some time on WhatsApp or scroll through it. All the things that we do that you do to procrastinate. Whereas now it's, I have to read this book. Like, this book is really going to help me. And there's several books by Grant Cardone, Sir Ronald Cohen, Warren Buffett, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, that I've read over and over and over and over again because I know how it's going to benefit me. And it's not just about knowing. This is my second tip. It's about feeling. So being driven by emotion, not just logic. We have a primacy of emotion over logic. If you look at the way your brain works, you respond to things emotionally first and then logically. So think about when you're in the supermarket, you're about to pay for whatever it is that you've bought, and you see a piece of chocolate and you think, do I feel like buying chocolate? Which chocolate do I feel like buying? And the next thing you know, I've bought my 80% dark chocolate and I'm there paying an extra $1 or £2 or whatever it is. So the point here is, think about why it is you're reading. What's the emotion behind it? What's the pain you're experiencing? What's the frustration you're feeling? Now, if you're going through a breakup, if your relationship is not where you want to be, or you don't feel like you can approach anyone on the street and you're not confident, or you feel like you're not able to figure out what your idea is for your business, whatever your thing is, what's the emotion behind what you're feeling? And the reason why you're thinking about reading more. Why is it that you're trying to read? Not just the logic part, but the emotion. So the third thing that I want you to think about, and my third tip is, what's the challenge that you've set yourself? So this is, now we're going into logic. And every year what I do is I go onto Goodreads at the beginning of the year and I decide, okay, this year I'm gonna read, I'm gonna aim, my challenge is gonna be, I'm gonna try and stretch myself, I'm gonna go for 50 books. Last year I did 30, my goal again this year is 30. And I know for me personally, given all the other things that I'm working on, all the other things that I have to do, all the other goals that I have, YouTube goals, business goals, fitness goals, relationship goals, traveling goals, like we collect goals like we collect books on our to-do list. And so I really thought this through and decided, okay, I'm gonna read these 30 books. And now the other thing, that the bonus tip here, if you will, is not only decide which books or how many books you're going to read, but which books. So I made a list in advance of, all right, I got my to-do list. I've hoarded all these books that I want to read. these are the specific 30 that I think are gonna help me the most that I'm gonna read this year. So I've cut out the ego depletion, it's called. So basically it's a fancy word for having to decide less things. If you've made the decision in advance, you don't have to think about it later. So by deciding in advance, I'm gonna read 30 books and it's gonna be these specific books. I don't have to think about what book I'm reading next. It's already in my hand, quite literally, ready for me to get going with. And this brings me onto my fourth tip, which is always bring your friend with you. I mentioned in my previous video, which I'm gonna link in the description at the end of this video, that when you're thinking about reading, you wanna imagine that you're meeting with the author. So you're giving it a greater importance. If I set a meeting with Sir Ronald Cohen right now, one of the greatest minds when it comes to social investment right now, an entrepreneur that I really admire, I'm never gonna miss a meeting with him. If he called me right now and said, do you wanna meet 8 o'clock for 2 hours? I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be taking notes. I'm gonna be making sure that every single word that in this case I'm reading from him, I'm going to absorb. And the point that I was gonna make here, before I went way off track, was keep your friend close. And by that I mean literally. If you've heard that quote, right? Books are like a man's best friend or whatever it is. I literally just keep the book in my hand at all times. So for example, when I'm commuting to work in the morning, I make sure my book is in my hand and I've got a highlighter in the other hand. So when I have a spare moment, I'm waiting for 3 minutes. What am I doing? I'm reading the next paragraph. And it's all of these small, tiny habits that accumulate over the course of your day that build up and help you to read faster. And I'm gonna go into a really practical tip because I know that's what most people want. And this, when I first heard this, I didn't actually think it was gonna work, but it actually does. So I'm gonna tell you the tip, but before I do, I'm gonna have to give you the context. Just try it out because you're gonna hear it and think, well, that was kind of obvious, but it really does work. And that's, if you've got a physical book, just literally move your finger faster and it's gonna help you to read much quicker. Because what happens when you read, your eye jumps from word to word. And if you can speed up the processing time it takes for your eyes to capture those words. I know there's techniques where you read the first and the last word in a sentence, so that's another bonus tip for you. But just move your finger faster and focus on following your finger and you'll notice your speed of reading will improve. I know people who've tried this that were really slow readers and this really worked for them. So that's 5 tips on reading faster.